thank you so much. Good afternoon and welcome to my little presentation about global event tech trends. So what justifies me being here, right? Apart from my British accent, you know, why should I be here? I've spent the last nearly 20 years in the events industry. I won't tell you exactly how old I am, but I worked across various different fields in the events industry. I worked for prestigious venues, I worked for production companies, I worked for catering companies, and I've spent the last 5 years working in event tech. The reason why I decided to go into event tech was because I didn't know anything about tech. I was literally the least tech-savvy person there was. My friends laughed at me when I said, I'm going to go and get a job in tech. And they're like, Cecilia, what are you doing to yourself? But I said, if I don't know how tech works, and I can understand it, and I can find solutions for my clients, that means I can help them. Because if I can understand it and simplify how tech works, that means I can help all of you guys and other people out there around the world. So that's why I decided to go into tech. So I've spent the last couple of years working in hardware, software, and now I work for a company called Evesio. We are an awards management and conference platform. We focus on the management, delivery, and the build of awards and conferences. But I'm not here to talk about us, don't worry, it's not a sales pitch. I'm here to tell you about, I travel all over the world in my job because I look after our global client scale. And I take great pride in getting to know other tech out there that my clients might benefit, even if it's not under the Evesio brand. So I'm here to tell you a little bit about what I've learned over the last couple of years, but also, obviously, more importantly, what's happening right now and how are we going to move forward from here. But before I do that and talk about certain tech trends, why is this subject so important to us, right? That's core to why we're here. 90% of event professionals believe that technology have a significant positive impact on the success of their events. Here we're talking about event professionals in general, right? Not just the planners, we're talking about the suppliers as well, because we're still event professionals, right? We work in the same industry. But almost 70% of organizers say that event software has a major impact on the success of their event. 72.5% of organizers say that the event management software played a major role in the success of their most recent conference. And 62.9% of attendees say they expect in-person conferences to use modern technology. I actually recently read an article that said our, I'm going to do it in quotation mark, younger generation, younger audience, actually decide to attend events if they know they're using cool technology. But obviously, that's super super to learn how to do as well, because our tech evolves so quickly and all the time, right? So it can be overwhelming, let's be honest, right? Specifically during the pandemic, we're like, what are we doing? I don't know how to figure this out. So, but saying that, because it's so fast-moving and an ever-changing landscape, 64.7% of organizers say they have changed or plan to change the events management software vendor within the next year. But one of the key points of my talk here today, which shouldn't come like a surprise to any one of you, it's really important not to use tech for tech's sake, right? If it's not going to serve a purpose for you and your event and your attendees, don't do it. Like, don't change anything just because of the sake of it, right? So we need to look at this in two different fields as well. One is organizer and one is the attendee. And we're going to split it out a little bit over the next sort of half an hour. As an organizer, is the tech going to help you measure, but also improve your ROI and your revenue? That's a huge question, right? But does it also help you build, plan, and market and deliver your events, right? They're sort of like your key aspects here that you need to think about. Does it improve your efficiency, right? But does it improve efficiency from an organizer and an attendee's perspective? Because again, if you want to use a piece of tech, but your attendees will not touch it or will not engage with it, you're wasting your money, right? There's no point of doing it. So again, the attendees, you're all attendees here today. You know, you're looking for the most efficient and the most engaging way of attending this event, right? So if the tech that Northwest Event Show is providing you with isn't giving you what you're looking for, or you find that, you know, maybe your data is insecure or anything like that, you're not going to engage with it. So God, I feel like I'm shouting every now and then. I'm sorry. I like to talk and I'm very loud, so I do apologize if any of you walks out here deaf. Okay, great, perfect. But before we go in and talk a little bit more around the tech aspect, i.e. how can you deliver better events moving forward, we need to actually look at some basic needs, right? How many of you have heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs before? Okay, the majority. That's great news, right? So Maslow's hierarchy of needs is the one on the left-hand side. And it's basically proposing that human being possesses two sets of needs, right? They're divided into deficiency needs and growth needs. And it's across these different 5 stages. And it helps us understand the motivations for human behaviors, right? So we can look at some of the basic ones, right? The psychological needs, right? Like food and water, the base need, you know, that we know in some parts of the world doesn't exist, right? But in our society, that's like, we don't even think about it every day. It's there. But then you have like safety and security. Think back to COVID, right? Around, you know, catching COVID or anything like that. But one that's really interesting here is the love and belonging. That's super important in events as well, because we come here to feel connected to the other people around us. And you all probably know this, we say, going to an event, the food at an event, it doesn't matter if you're at the most amazing venue. If the food is crap, sorry if you got to beep this online, you know, people are going to remember the really bad food. It could be an amazing venue, it could be so incredible, but if they're not feeding you, or they're giving you like a little canapé and that's it, you know, you're going to be like, why did I go to this event? So you need to satisfy these in an event setting as well, right? You've got to consider this. But what's more important here is that this exists in technology needs as well. But these are some basic things that I keep on talking to people about because they don't consider them enough. Electricity. We think it's, you know, should exist, right? In South Africa, there is power outages on a consistent basis, right? 20% of the South African citizens, out of the total amount of time over a year, the South African citizens are without power for 20% of that time in the year. I know you guys are not in South Africa right now, but imagine hosting an event in South Africa. If you don't know about that, your event can fail, right? Same, I was in Mexico a couple of weeks ago. I was in Tulum. And power outages are a common thing there as well. So you have to think to find a location that has a generator. Especially, like me, I'm a full-time digital nomad. I travel all over the world. If I can't work, I won't make money, you know? So I've got to consider these things. It's the same in events. We have to consider these aspects. Hardware. Coming to a venue like today, imagine if there was no printers. I know in your world here right today, that's probably not common, but it is a basic need of technology at an event. Same laptops, phones, etc. Coming to network, this is my pet hate, right? Wi-Fi. I travel all over the world. At this venue, there is no free Wi-Fi for attendees. If I want to sit out here in the lovely staircase that is set up for people to work whilst they're here. But if I have no Wi-Fi, how am I going to work? I have only come across 2 venues across the world that provides free Wi-Fi for exhibitors and attendees. That was excellent Wi-Fi. One of them is Huntington Place in Detroit. And I loved it. I couldn't stop raving about it because I was like, this is a basic need for me to be here at this event and you fulfilled my need. Now I'm just going to enjoy myself, right? Again, I was having a chat to a couple of my new friends last night. You know, you go and you look at QR codes. Again, if there's no Wi-Fi, how am I going to use it? How am I going to use the app? Basic needs. These three things, you have to consider them, right? Because otherwise, the other things that's nice to have, the software, the holograms, and all of these things I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about, they're not going to be able to be used, and they're not going to be enjoyed if these basic needs are not met. So, I am now going to move on to talk a little bit more around the different techs out there. But before I do, if you do have the app and you can use it, because you're from here, you have 4G. I do have 4G, don't worry. Like I can survive. In the app, under the event Mobi, under this session, there is a couple of polls. They are open questions. If you do have the energy and the inspiration to complete them, I would love for you to do so, because I would love for that to create a discussion. They're basically about the most useful technologies you've used. I want to know what you think. What technology you currently think is most overrated? And also what technology is most underrated currently? And also, what technology are you most excited to see develop over the next couple of years? So if you've got a couple of minutes, we can go in, we can look at some of the answers at the end and discuss them as well. So, moving on. As I said, I've divided this into two parts of my presentation. One is talking about what technologies can help the organizers, and what technologies should we consider because it can actually help the attendees. All of this is related back to efficiency and creating engaging experiences for your attendees. Because that's what we do, right? Event planners, we organize amazing experiences. And that's what people are going to remember. I have a QR code at the end, by the way, as well. So if you want to, you can scan that, and then I'll send you this presentation. So I've also got a couple of slides that gives you the names of some of the companies I'm going to mention to you. And then I also send you some other information from some of these companies that you might find useful. So don't worry, you don't need to write down too much about this. So let's start. Data analysis. There was a discussion down on the main stage a minute ago that said, the question was, do we need more data at our events, or do we not need more data? My simple answer is, if you collect the data and you're not using it, then you don't need data at all, right? But if you're not collecting data and using it, how can you actually make informed decisions for your future events, right? It's like, how are you going to improve your event if you don't know what's going on? And I'm not talking just about feedback here, right? We know how soul-destroying that is, sending out that survey to that attendee, getting them to answer, and then you send another 10 emails to get them to respond, and they just hate you more and more and more and more for every email. So, any sort of tool that's out there that's going to help you look at your data and analyze it, I would say go for it. It's worth the money if it's going to give you the information you need to help you improve your events. And that includes AI. I said the dreaded word, and I know there's so many talks around here. I will mention AI on a couple of occasions here, but this talk is not about AI. But, for us, at Evesio as an example, AI is about us, giving you as the organizer the option to use it if you want to. We're not going to force it on anyone. So if you as an organizer want to use it, you can. If the attendee wants to use it, they can. But we have actually put some fairly, limitations. There's certain parts of our software we do not include AI because we believe it will take away the integrity of the information that's actually been gathered. But I was also on a talk recently talking about specifically AI, and my very good friend RJ, who heads up the global event technology for Bloomberg, based out of New York, he said, AI is still not there even when it comes to some of the data, right? Because, AI can process huge amounts of data, but it can't give me all the results. And if it's too much, it's struggling to find its structure currently, right? So there's still a long way to go. But when it comes to data analysis, one tool I have recently come across, and I've had the immense pleasure of meeting some of their staff today. One of the ladies are here, Rachel, if anyone wants to talk, is Cenas. I'm not sure if have anyone seen Cenas downstairs, heard about them over the event? They're everywhere. And they are here as well. Right? Where are we, Rachel? Here, right? So, Cenas, what they do is they provide behavioral analytics data for your event. So they do ethical face analysis, right? And so it doesn't process any personal data, any measures. Sorry, I'm going to my notes. I can't know it all off by heart, right? But they do measure impressions, demographics such as sex and age, positive sentiment, and so much more. So right now, this is measuring you guys in the room. Please smile, be happy, be engaged. It's going to say a lot of good things about me. But it will measure how are you engaging with me, with the content. Are you happy? Are you crying? Are you looking at me? Are you looking at your phone? It's going to say, is Cecilia a good speaker or not? Pretty much. It's also going to say, is the audience older or younger than we thought? Right? It's going to give you all of that data without actually telling me, you're Joanna, you're Lauren, I don't know, It's not going to give me that data that we find could be slightly, difficult to handle, or people are not willing to give it away. But with this technology, you don't need to give it away, right? It's there, but you still get the data you need. A friend of mine who works in the industry told me something. She was organizing an event for an association, and one of the key people within this association thought she was the best speaker in the world, right? She was like, I'm always going to be on that stage, I've got to do this. But the audience did not engage. They did not engage with her content. It was actually the least valuable sort of session out of all of it. So they had to turn around and say, listen, next year, either you step it up or we're just going to have to find other speakers because they're losing their audience. So if you're organizing a conference, that's the key thing, right? You need your audience there. But this is also used at exhibitions. So even downstairs on the exhibition the show floor downstairs, they have it at certain booths. So you can actually measure how people are walking in the aisles, but how many people of those in the aisle are coming onto their booth. And also, obviously, then, how are they engaging at the booth? As if you're organizing exhibitions, you want to sell premium space. You want to make more money. You want to sell more booth space. If you have that data, you can say, this is the right spot. Last year, I sold this for 10 grand. But this year, I know that's my premium spot. I can sell that for 20 grand. Or I can also tell one of the exhibitors, you had a 10 by 10. Next year, did you look at that flow there? That should be a 20 by 20. That's valuable data to you. And you don't need anything. You can see, how many of you guys saw this camera before I pointed it out? Oh, 2, 3, 4. Okay, that's still not bad. But again, it looks smart. I think it looks smart, right? So other things that you can do, I will go back, is obviously like in general, smart maps, heat mapping. Look into this technology if you think you're going to be useful. If you organize exhibitions, I urge you, find a supplier and offer it to your exhibitors, right? Because if they see that you want to help them to get the data that they need in order for them to do better, you're going to do better. We need to become that intermediate as well. And then obviously you've got Cenas AI here as well, and I have some additional information from them if anyone needs. Did I go back? Yes, I went back. Chatbots, we all hate them, right? We don't like them. That's because they're not being utilized in the right way. They've been programmed with information that is based on FAQs, right? So it's using AI. But if you say one word in that chatbot that is not recognized within that documentation, this fabulous documentation that someone has sat down and put together, actually the chatbot can't recognize what you're asking it. So it goes back, oh, would you like to hear answer 1, 2, 3 again? And you're like, oh my God, I'm gonna kill you, So But there are some really good ones. So I came across a company very recently again, Unique Digital Humans. So they use generative AI when it comes to their chatbots, right? So they learn from everything that they process, they learn as they go along. And they actually produce digital humans. If you go to their website, it's actually quite freaky. I forgot I had my speakers on, and I went on the website, and then there's someone who starts talking to me, and I was like, where is this coming from? And it was the digital human who was speaking to me. So, and I really quite like this chatbot's sort of information, because we all know there's a shortage of staff in the events industry at the moment, right? That comes from the pandemic. You can't have staff who's going to respond to every single question that's out there. So, use something else. You know, AI can actually be really useful in a lot of different ways. Sustainability. We can't get away from this, right? But it's hard. It's really, really, really hard, right? We think about food waste, we think about water, we think about all of these things. Carbon footprint, how do I measure it? How can I get this data that's actually going to help me do something about this? Because we need to do something about this, right? Look no further. There is a company called Isla. It's actually based in the UK. They focus on sustainability for planners, agencies, suppliers. So they think not about the attendee, they think about us. They have actually produced a software called Trace that's going to help you measure your sustainability impact and give you tangible advice over how you can minimize that at your events in the future. I think that's pretty cool. Talking about QR codes, like, I know it's so simple, but actually I bloody love them. I think they're awesome, right? Because I was in Peru last week, and you will go to one of the smallest local markets in Peru, and you sit down at one of the cevicherias that all the locals eat at, and you're like, it's a cash-only place, surely, right? You know, it's in the middle of nowhere, it's just everyone there. They will ask you to pay via QR code. It's pretty awesome, right? And it's so efficient, and it's so simple, because it didn't take me to an app, FYI. But it's like, you know, that is a modern way of using technology. But again, don't forget, Wi-Fi. Is there Wi-Fi available? Right? So you have to consider these things to provide different options. But going back to the sustainability aspect, if you use QR codes, there's actually really good ways of helping you with sustainability. So we launched a digital seating planner at Evesio. So when you come to a conference or an award or anything like that, you know, you have these huge, like, billboards or cardboard thingies where it says, you're going to sit on table 1, and you've got, you know, Joe next to you. But Joe actually became ill last night. So actually you got Sandra, and you're like, oh, you don't look like Joe. But with a QR code, you can just scan it, you can start walking into the room, reduces queues, and you can look at, where is my table? You can see the floor plan, you can see who you're sitting with. The organizer updated, so Joe is not coming to the event anymore, Sandra. You know that straight away because it's at your phone. You know, it's simple things like this because it reduces your printing cost. It just helps you being efficient because your information is up to date consistently. Again, technology doesn't need to be your foe, right? It can really help you if it's used in the right way. Virtual, I'm not going to talk about this too much. We're all bored of it, right? But let's not forget, this is not going anywhere, right? We are a global events community, right? We all work for huge companies. We have people all over the world, right? The majority of my team is based in London. I was on a phone call with them this morning, right? It's simple, it's efficient. But let's not forget that obviously, attention spam. If you're running a 3-day conference with educational, don't expect the people at home to sit there for 3 days. That's just, you know, that's just being stupid. I'm sorry if anyone does that. I'm really sorry. No tomatoes. Did we check for that? Okay. But we do have to think about this, that actually it expands our, you know, our voice and our events in general. So we cannot forget about them. But think about the metaverse, right? When that was during the pandemic, and I remember these online environments where you turned into a robot, like you were like a 3D person, and I found it so freaky. But where are they now? Haven't seen them. So again, just really consider if your audience is really going to engage with that. If your audience is maybe 13-year-olds and they love to see themselves as a robot, yes, do it. Absolutely do it. But if your audience is 60 to 70 years old, maybe not the right audience for it. But let's not forget about it. Production aspects. An interesting one, the Sphere in Las Vegas. I'm sure you've all seen and heard about it. It's epic. It really is. But let's not think about it as well that I heard a rumor that to produce an event at the Sphere, we're thinking about venue and production alone, is $20 million. So it's not going to be for everyone, right? It's definitely not, but it is cool. So we have to think about these things where it really works for you. Like the drones, I love the drone shows. And if you're looking for, your objective is that your audience is going to take photos, they're going to take videos, they're going to post them, it's going to create a buzz that keeps on going and going and going, yes, that's for you. But if it's not, then don't do it, right? So the Sphere is actually, they've booked their first event for June next year. HP is doing their first corporate event. They opened in September. I'm sure many of you work at venues or work at venues. Before you open a venue, you should have like 3 months on the books already, surely, right? Otherwise, how are you going to make your money? The Sphere has been without it for a while. So again, is it an entertainment venue? Is it an event venue? Like, really consider these things. What's the last thing? Oh, AI again. Here we go. But it is an interesting one because I really do believe it can help you. I have a friend who runs an agency, and he says, ChatGPT, I see as a part of my team. I thought that was a really interesting statement. He was like, yeah, it's that team member that none of us wants to be, that admin person who just does all the boring bits. But that makes sense. Why put a human being to do that work when you've got technology who can do it for you? We are creative event professionals. The creative and the human side of what we do cannot be replicated in software right now. And it's going to take years. Well, I'm hoping years and years and years, right? Because it doesn't have that emotional side as of yet, right? Use those strengths and put them into use in what you do best. Get the technology to do all the other bits. Don't be afraid of it. Another friend of mine, though, who runs a marketing agency, said they do a very important thing. They have a 70-30% rule when it comes to AI. 70% can be done by AI, 30% needs to be checked and done by human. Just because technology has its faults. Human beings have their faults. We're going to make mistakes. Technology is going to make mistakes, right? I'm not sure if you've heard about this. There was a company in Scotland very recently who made a massive mistake overusing AI. They produced images, they produced videos, they produced everything using AI. They even included writing the scripts for the actors that was going to, sort of perform at the venue. Problem was the actors didn't understand what was written, so they were like, have no idea. And that wasn't even a Scottish accent, right? They just literally had no idea what they were going to talk about. And the images, they couldn't live up to those images in real life. They just couldn't reproduce what they promoted and what they sold tickets to. Oh my God. Let's be smart. Let's be clever about this. Let's not make technology do things that we can't do ourselves, right? If you can write a production schedule, you can write a schedule like the content, you think about what content your audience can do. Put that into AI. Get them to do all the boring stuff. You can do the fun bits, like sitting here today, that's good. So we should really think about all of these things. So I've already showed you this. I forgot about SparkUp. Sorry, he's going to hate me. When we were talking about the virtual stuff, one of the key things is around engagement here, is really to get your audience that's in a virtual environment and a live environment to engage and feel like they're really a part of it. They have something called an interactive fan wall. And you think it looks easy to do that? I worked in software for 3 years. It is super hard. That is really hard to do, to get all of the images, get the reactions, get the comments, and then display it on a projection within the venue. But if you're running, they've used it in political debates, they've looked at, all of these type of things. It feels like the online audience, they're actually a part of this event, but it also creates a really cool backdrop, a really cool, engaging sort of, for the online, the in-person audience to see what's going on as well. Sorry. That was that one. So, attendees. AI again, but here, for me, this is super important. I attend a lot of events. I want to go to an event. If you have, so we have here, I believe, 3 breakout rooms and 1 main stage, right? Okay, that's not massive. We could go to an event where there's like 10 breakout rooms, 5 other big stages over 3 days. Say that I have meetings in the morning, I can only attend Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday morning, Thursday afternoon, and I'm interested in this. That's a lot of data to go through in an agenda, to actually look at, where shall I go? I want to be able to put that in to the app, to the software, wherever it is, and just be like, these are my interests, these are the times I'm available to go and look at this educational content. Create me an agenda. How much would that help our attendees? There's a couple of big events out there that does this, but it's underutilized. We're underutilizing the AI in this respect, right? Same for networking, and I've been saying this for years. I know we have networking in all of these apps. I don't want to just go in and search by first name. I want to search about, what are you interested in? Are you interested to sit down and have a conversation about AI? Then I want to connect with you. Let's sit down and have a chat about it. We are underutilizing these things that's really making people connect. Think back about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. If people feel they have a belonging with the other people at the event, they're going to engage more. They're going to feel safe. They're going to enjoy the event. Same here, when we're talking about this, it moves on to the badging and the wearables. I'm going to go to the next slide so you can see it here. When we attend these events, right? Oh, God, that went very loud all of a sudden. What is it to say that it's only the exhibitor who should get the data from the attendee? Why shouldn't me and Joe, I'm assuming, hi Joe, why shouldn't we be able to exchange contact information? We had a great chat in the bar over a mojito. You're interested in wearable tech, so am I. We want to continue our discussions. Why can't we change information without going into LinkedIn, QR code, business cards, whatever it is? I want to just click our badges together and we exchange information. I love it. I'm so for it. Badgey by CapTag, they actually have, it's a piece of hardware. And what they do, on that piece of hardware, sorry for the image here, you can click a button so you can actually vote within sessions. You can use it for access control. You just link it up to someone else's, you've exchanged contact information. Or Click Smart Event Badges by Bisabo, they have like a little sort of tag that they attach to the badge. And then again, if they click it together, you exchange contact information. It can be reused, right? Of course, badges should nowadays be fully recyclable and, obviously be able to be, biodegradable or whatever we call it. But it's things like this. The other thing, I love these. You guys need to go down and see these. There's a company downstairs called Fastbar. These are little NFC bracelets. Okay. And they basically, they can preload it with drink tickets. So we went to the opening reception last night, and we got 2 drinks tokens, like little paper. How often do we lose them, But if it's preloaded, you have $10 on this bracelet. You can go to the bar and you can buy whatever you want. That's easy. Imagine if you're in a festival in Colombia, there is no 4G, horrible, and there was no Wi-Fi, of course. But, your phone is running out of charge, because we all have our credit cards on our phone nowadays. Your phone is out of charge because you're in the middle of a field somewhere. You still have the aim and the needs to be able to pay for your drinks, for your food, maybe even like your taxi, I don't know. This is cool. And it's not just walking around with it. And it's not expensive. It's not going to cost you the earth. It's not super complicated. All right, I know I need to wrap up. I like to talk, I did tell you that. But you all heard about the Coldplay concert as well, right? Like, this many years ago. They were doing the wristbands that was lighting up, in tune with the music. That is cool. We're still talking about it. I'm still remembering it. You know, if that's the aim of your event, then do it. Think about these things that's going to make your event really cool. Holograms. We all know holograms. I remember seeing my first hologram. will.i.am. Cool dude. Yeah, this was like 7 years ago. I thought I was so cool. I've seen will.i.am. You know, that was rubbish. Like, look at where we are nowadays, right? I went to ABBA Voyage in London a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, this is going to be rubbish. I'm going to see everything. The production, I'm going to be able to see, you know, like that. It's not them. I kid you not, I feel like I've seen ABBA in real life. It was so freaking epic. That's holograms. Like, and again, I'm telling you about it. We're on the other side of the world right now, and I'm telling you about it. That was because that was an awesome experience for me. So we can use this tech as long as it's the right one. Apps, QR codes, obviously we've already talked about. You know, like even on the badges, for example, do you need an app? Can you do a QR code that links to a website that has the venue map on it, that has the agenda, that has anything like that? Do you really need to download another app? Or have an app that doesn't have the name of the event? So you go, oh, I'm going to go to this event, and you search for the name of the event. There's no app because it's under a different name. Think about it. Efficiency, making it easy for your attendees, making it easy for you. Inclusivity, this I promise, last couple of minutes here. Inclusivity, this is where I think tech has really come a long way, right? And this is where it's super useful. User way. Have you gone on a website? You see this little round, it's a round, blue, round little man in the middle of the website? A couple of people nodding their heads. Go and have a look. Like, sorry for the plug here. Go to avesio.com. You will see at the bottom of the website. It is basically a software that helps you adjust how you see and view the website. Someone who has neurodivergent needs, right? Non-visible disabilities. If you have too many flashing images or a video, it can actually cause an epileptic fit. But we're all told we should use really cool images and really cool videos, right? Because it creates attention. Well, you don't want to send anyone into an epileptic fit. Again, certain people can't see certain colors over other things. Use technology to help provide that for everyone. Wordly, you know, you see an example here, right? Subtitles, but also big global conferences, automatic translation. I speak in English, you can translate to Swahili, Chinese, Japanese. Make your event inclusive. It's not too expensive. Think about these things. Because if you have someone coming to your event who do not understand, maybe you don't understand anything, you're just nodding here, I'm talking in British accent, you might have no idea what I'm talking about, I should have used translation. But you know, it's like, you know, they're not going to remember that event. It's as simple as that. Where was I? So what have I got left? AR, VR. You can create some really, really cool experiences with this, right? Because VR, during the pandemic, I saw this being used in very clever ways by destinations. They still needed to sell their destinations. They still needed to sell their hotels for when the pandemic ended. But how could they showcase what they had to offer? Send them a VR headset with a VR tour, right? You don't need to buy it. There's companies out there that rent them, that ships them. And that's it. Oh, I think this has gone off. Anyway, I'm happy to share this. I think my last finishing note is don't think just about one event either. Think about the whole events chain. Think about creating loyal audiences. Think about creating, you know, because tech isn't, everyone says, I want an all-in-one solution. There is no all-in-one solution, guys. Because each tech supplier focuses on a specific area that they will put their time and money into, that they're going to develop. right? Think instead, does that integrate with this piece of tech that I want to use, and it creates a seamless experience? That's what you should focus on, right? That then creates a really robust tech stack, and you can still innovate and move forward from there. A cool thing that one of our clients has done is they've created a long-term legacy, right? So they want to become the leader in what they do. So when they do these awards, they get awarded different points. So it creates a league table. So when someone is actually looking for a new supplier within that industry, they go to that awards website and they look at, oh, these are the top companies. I'm going to use one of those, right? But also it means that those companies consistently enters their awards and make them money because they want to be on this list. That is very clever future-proofing. That means that they are going to be the leader in that industry and never disappear. Now, I think I've talked way too much. I do apologize. I will go down to the meet and greet, the speaker session. I believe it's downstairs on the main floor behind that tunnel. If anyone has any questions, wants to have a chat, please come and see me. Otherwise, obviously, if we can just bring that QR code up so people can scan it. It will just ask simply for your first name, company, and email. I will send you a personal email with these details. I promise, no sales. I just want to help you produce the best events you can. Thank you very much.